All right, fantastic. Mastermind with Neil Schwartz, and our special guest today is Michael Kent. Michael's from the Phoenix, Arizona area, actually Gilbert, Arizona, correct, Michael?
Yep, that's where my main office is, yep.
Fantastic. So we'll put the notes and where Michael is working from and how to get in touch with him. We'll get that up there in the chat box here in just a couple of minutes. Michael, share with us a little bit, give us a Reader's Digest version of you getting started in the real estate business and meeting Mike Ferry, etc.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for having me. I watch this all the time, Neil. I graduated in accounting in 2001. I was in Utah. I moved to Arizona and started in accounting. 9 months into my first accounting job, the day after my first daughter was born, I got fired. I was probably the world's worst accountant. I hated every second of it. And so after that happened, I started as a financial analyst for a couple of years, and I had a really good friend who was a builder and also a broker. And I remember one night we were talking and he said, "You should go get your real estate license. You'd be good at it." And he said, "You'll make $200,000 your first year." And I thought he was just crazy, but I looked at him and he had this look in his eye and he said, "I'm going to help you do it." And so I went and got my license in 2004. First full-time year was 2005. Again, I was started part-time, but I was making more money part-time on real estate than my full-time accounting job, which I hated. So it was kind of a no-brainer. And my first full year in real estate, I paid in taxes what I made my first year out of college.
Wow. Fantastic. Fantastic.
And
about how many deals do you think that was?
it was about 20, 18, 20. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that was like 04, 05. The market was still pretty good. And then in 06, 07, when it started going down, I had a cousin who was selling in Salt Lake. And I said, "What do you do every day?" And he said, "Well, I prospect for 3 hours a day. I talk to 30 people a day." And I said to him, I could never do that. But the market was shifting. I said, I either need to start doing that or I need to get out of real estate. So that's when I met Mike, and it's made all the difference.
Good. Fantastic. Let me ask you a question. We kind of were talking about this a little bit earlier when we were just having a chat. Most agents don't come into business and do 20 deals in their first or second year, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't happen. Why did that happen for you? Why do you think?
Couple things. Again, my friend that said, "I'm going to help you do it," he was a builder. And
Okay.
so he gave me some listings on some lots that were ridiculously priced too high. So he wasn't really serious in selling them, but I would get leads from those signs all the time.
Okay.
We may not get as many sign calls now, but I would make sure when I talked to that person, if they didn't want that, I would find out what they wanted. And I was pretty consistent on following up with them and staying in touch with them.
Did you have a sales background there? You went out of college and you got your CPA license. That takes time, effort, energy, and it must be very demoralizing to get a job and hate it.
Yeah. The only really sales, I know you've had other people on this podcast that have done the same thing, as I did the 2-year mission for my church. So I sold religion for 2 years.
Got it.
First 3 days out there, I was 17 hours on knocking doors.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you know John Haar?
No.
Oh, anyway, he's out in Utah and he's got a whole team of guys and gals like that. I think that's a great way to get started. Some kind of door knocking job.
Yep.
And if you don't have a door knocking job, just go out and door knock. How's that?
Yeah. I mean, at the time I had 3 kids when I started, and I just quit a full-time job. I mean, that's pretty good accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to make the money, and you needed to go do it right then. Absolutely. So when you met Mike, you were already doing 15, 20 deals a year, right?
It was starting to go down because I don't know if you remember, but like 2004, 2005 was still a pretty good market, and things were starting to go south.
Uh-huh.
So I really had a decision to make. I either had to do something different because those sign calls, people weren't looking to buy lots and build spec homes, a lot of that stuff. So I had to really change. But I did start about 18, 20 deals per year, and then it was starting to go south. But the first year following Mike, I quickly got up to like 25, 30 and progressed from there.
Got it. So you found a system and then followed the system.
Yep.
It's kind of what happened.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So right now, let's fast forward to 23. That's what, 18, 19 years later?
Yeah.
So let me ask you, is it a good decision to get into real estate?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's definitely better than accounting. I can tell you that.
That's great. That's great. Who paid for college, by the way?
My mom worked at a community college, and I really worked hard in school. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I actually had to repeat the first grade, but I learned how to work. My mom worked at the community college, so I had free tuition, and I really studied hard after coming home from that mission. I learned some study habits, and I got an academic scholarship for the last 2 years.
Good for you.
Yeah.
So mom really didn't have to physically come out of pocket to take care of school.
Yeah, she was an employee there, yeah.
So they weren't really mad at you when you didn't use that CPA license, the
No,
education?
I think they probably had some apprehension, but I remember showing my dad my first 2 checks. And
he was pretty
7
impressed?
Kids, probably made 7 kids, maybe made 60, 70,000 a year at the highest point of his career. So I think he got it.
Oh, that's great. Great story. Okay, so where's business come from today?
About 40% of it's canceled and expireds. We get a lot of canceled and expireds here in Arizona. 30% comes from my database, 15% for sell by owners, and then the other 15%, some internet stuff that comes in, sign calls.
So right now you have 4 or 5 kids?
5 kids, yep.
Five kids. You're doing right now, your last year was what, 58, 60 transactions on your own?
Yeah, 58, yep.
58 transactions on your own. And then you have a team member?
Last year I had 1 buyer's agent. I have a full-time assistant and a TC, but this year I picked up another buyer's agent. We're starting this year pretty strong.
So let's go back. Let's just talk about 23 first.
Sure.
So you had a buyer's agent did how many deals?
The buyer's agent I did 58 and there's 75, so she did 17.
17 deals. Got it. But most of your work is listings.
Yeah, and of those 17, probably 12 of them were just direct referrals from me, like past client or database. I don't work with buyers at all.
Got it. Okay. So on the 58, you probably made somewhere around $600,000 in Arizona?
6, yep. Yep,
Right,
just under 6.
right.
Yeah.
And she helped you make another 100?
Yeah. Yep.
Let me ask you a question. It just popped into my head. Do you spend a lot of time managing her?
No, she's been in the business longer than me.
Okay, so you don't have to spend a lot of time. How about the second person you bring on board?
No, he's pretty good too.
Okay, got it. So whatever you're going to make on them isn't going to take much of your time.
No, and one of them actually prospects with me every day, and
Hey, cool.
he'll maybe take 1 or 2 listings a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So right now you had a really good first quarter so far, right?
Yeah.
You're on track. How many deals you're doing?
Right now we're closing pending 24 since January 1st, 24 deals.
24 deals, which gave you somewhere around 250,000.
Yeah, it's like 260. Yeah. So I'm excited at this. Hopefully, if everything pans out, because quarter 1's a little bit slower, this should be the year I break $1 million.
That's great. Congratulations. Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, it would be, but still a lot of work to do.
So, and the business today is coming from where? We talked about that. Sorry. Yeah. We talked about that. Okay. So, how much prospecting you do in a day?
Right now, my numbers analyzers has me at 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours.
Yep.
Okay. And you have 2 people that support you? I'm not talking about buyer's agents.
Yeah, full-time assistant who does the listings and then other stuff with my database. And then I have a transaction coordinator.
Does the transaction coordinator only work for you, or does she?
No, that'll
Okay.
be my next move, to have someone just full-time, but she does service some other agents also.
Got
Once
it.
the deal
Okay,
goes under contract, she takes it over, yeah.
good. When did you start having the assistant? How many deals?
I think same thing Mike teaches, right around 40.
Around 40 deals?
Mhm.
Okay. And would it have been smarter to add it earlier, maybe?
If you can do it, yes. If you use that time that they're freeing up to get on the phone and do the income producing activities.
Oh, so you got to still work.
Yeah, if you get the assistant and just start taking off the afternoon, it's not going to be good.
Doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Good stuff. So on track for $1 million, doing business, having a great first quarter. Why do you think your first quarter exploded for you?
I think what really helped me was like between September and December of last year, I got up to like, I think 18 active listings, which was a little bit out of my comfort zone. And it was talking price and updating those customers every week was kind of uncomfortable, but I just kept stacking them and stacking them. And once that rate went down, they just started popping.
Got it. And now the rate's kind of creeping up a little bit. Is that causing any concern or slowdown for you, or?
I think, you look at your pendings and closed, but I just think I have a goal every month to take 10 listings. So if I focus on that, I think everything will kind of work out.
So let's talk about that. I mean, where did that goal come from? That's 120 listings a year. That's a
This
chunk
is
of business.
probably a cool story. I don't know if you remember, but Josh Barker coached with Mike for a year.
Correct.
And I had the opportunity to coach with Josh.
Oh, wow.
And this is kind of a funny story. I got on my coaching call and Josh says, what's your listing goal for the month? I go 7. And he goes, 7? That's a stupid number. 7? Just make it 10. And so he just thought that was a weird, not a rounded up number. So he made it 10 and we made it 10 and I didn't get it every month, but there was a couple months where I did. And just that reaction I thought was funny. He's like, that's a dumb number.
So how many listings, I guess, what's your selling ratio? Do you,
maybe you do the math on this. Last year I took 87.
okay.
So you say 58 closed, and then I carried a few into the next year. But
So you're 30, say 25 of them didn't sell.
right.
So that's a third.
Yeah.
That's kind of like Milton James's numbers. He's a little closer to 50-50.
Yeah, they're not that bad if Milton's watching. I know Milton. Yeah.
He might be.
Yeah.
No, that's your numbers. So you gotta take. So does it bother you to take listings that don't sell, or is it really a numbers game? Where are you with this?
I think so. And you would probably coach us better on this than me, Neil. But if you look at any top producer, they do have cancels and expireds.
Right.
So if every one of yours are selling, depending on your market, it may not be a good thing if they're all selling. Now, sometimes I usually count them once I get a signature. Sometimes maybe plans change. There's some valid reasons where they just decided not to sell.
Sure.
And then obviously some of them don't sell because of price. But I mean, how many of us have passed on a listing because we're so set on that price and we're so tight on that price, and you look back 2 months later and it's sold? So there's another thing I learned from Josh when I was coaching with him through Mike Ferry was, on a listing appointment, at least go on the record of the price. If they want to try it higher, that's fine. You got to make a business decision. But if it hasn't sold in 3 weeks and you've gone on the record and it was their price, if it hasn't sold, whose fault is it?
We do talk about that all the time. I actually had that exact situation in a role play that we did today. That exact situation came up, and I could tell that the agent was being a bit too tough in the role play.
Yeah.
And I find that if agents are a little too tough in the role play, they're usually too tough at the door.
Yep.
And We have to lighten up. Don't come home without the listing
Yeah.
is my motto.
Yeah. I like it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll work on getting them sold and get your percentage closer.
Yeah. Especially if
Good
you
for
got
you.
someone who's going through a divorce that has to sell, or they're moving out of state, job relocation. Like, you want to get those signed for sure.
Got it. So you said earlier that you're not the sharpest tool in the box. So what does that mean?
I think there's some people that are just pretty bright. They hear something once and they just pick up on it. Me, it takes a little longer.
Okay. All right. So scripts and dialogues, I mean, did you just jump into it and bought everything Mike was selling?
I really think I did. I really spent time practicing. And I think that's where the, lack of maybe intellect, like, so it's perfect about this business. You don't have to recreate the wheel.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's very nice. How about product knowledge? You didn't know, you grew up in Utah, you moved to Arizona, so you didn't really have a lot of knowledge of the markets, different areas and stuff. How did you learn it?
Just practice and experience, I think. Arizona, a lot of homes, unless you're going to really high end, which I do some high end, but most of the homes, like in a development, they're kind of, you might have 4 or 5 different floor plans. So it's not like every home's going to be totally different and custom. So
Right.
it wasn't too tough
So
to
it
pick.
wasn't difficult.
No.
So you preview a couple of dozen properties and you knew what was pretty good, pretty much going on.
Yeah, and as much as like I don't see myself as a super smart intellect, but the real estate exam was a lot easier than the CPA exam. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that it was. I'm sure that it was. Very, very cool. So if we have a newer agent right now and they're working the streets and making the phone calls, I mean, what would you advise an agent to do right now and try to get to their next level?
I would think probably when you're new, it's gonna feel uncomfortable and you're probably feeling like you're a little insecure, you don't feel confident in what you're doing. And what's amazed me in this business and doing it, almost 20 years next year, is how probably 90 to 95% of this is just mindset. And it seems like that doesn't make any sense when you say it, but really your attitude and what's going on in your head will really determine your income. But what will give you more confidence and a stronger mindset is higher skills. So I would really, if I were brand new in the business right now, I would be spending at least an hour to 2 hours just practicing. And that could be memorizing. I had a coach once that every day for 30 days, I wrote out the listing presentation and I had to fax it to him. That shows you how long ago it was. And so, yeah, if you're out there feeling uncomfortable, that's totally natural. But it's because you don't know what to say. And the only way you can get a stronger skill set is by practicing, which will improve your mindset, which is 95% of this. And it's so weird, but that's what I found to be true.
Knowledge equals confidence, right?
Yeah.
Knowledge equals confidence.
And a
So,
strong mindset.
well, knowledge helps with the mindset, is
Yep.
what I was referring to.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, so I'm going to buy into what you're saying. I'm a newer agent. Couple hours of role play, practice, scripts and dialogues every day. But is that enough?
We got to take action.
Okay, so what does that look like to you?
When I started, I thought this might be a good tip for somebody new. I had, like I said, I had a cousin who was talking to 30 people a day. I'm like, I couldn't do that. And so what I did, like my first week of prospecting, is I just said, I'm going to talk to 5 people every day, Monday through Friday. And I did that for a week or two. Then I upped it to 10. Then I upped it to 15. So I was doing that. For me, that helped. Like, just start building that muscle. And now
Building the muscle, right?
yeah, now it's no problem. It's just part of the job.
Very smart. So you doing 30 contacts a day, or did you have to up that a little bit?
30, I'm at 35 now. This is probably the most I've done consistently. I've usually hovered just right around 30, 28, 29, but I've been consistent this year.
So that's another thing we talked about. That was the other word, was consistency, that we talked about to ramping it up for you this year.
Yeah.
You got it, right?
And the thing with consistency, probably stuff a lot of you guys already know, but I might show up 4 days and talk to 40 people and don't set one appointment. And show up on the 5th day and talk to 5 people and set 4. You don't know what day that's going to be.
Got it.
It'd be easier just to show up on the 5th day, but it just doesn't work that way.
Doesn't work that way. It's like growing bamboo. You water bamboo for 3 or 4 years, water it, water it, water it. It doesn't grow. And then the 5th year, it grows 40 feet.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work unless you water it every day.
Yeah. I wish it were different, but it's not.
Yeah. Fantastic. Fantastic. You open for a few questions from our group?
You bet.
Absolutely. Okay. So Michael Kent, Arizona, questions for him. Who wants to open it up?
I had a question.
Sure.
Go ahead, Kamal.
I'm in a bad area, so I might cut out. But I know something you said, Michael. You said you were hovering around 28, 29, 30 contacts, and then, this year you've been at 35 consistently. Even, talking to 6 people a day, is that one of the things you think is causing the 24 deals to have closed and pending by this?
Michael,
Yeah,
did you hear the end of the
I
question?
think the question was, is just that consistency, is that's what's leading to where I am today with the closed and pending?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
And the number.
Yeah. Yep. And it's not so much what I'm doing now in January. It's what I was doing in September, October, November.
Such an important thought, Michael.
Yeah.
Such an important thought. Go ahead, Kamal.
No, yeah, that is amazing, Michael. I mean, just being consistent. Well, I got to ask you this, and it just came up. How do you stay consistent when, you have the habit, you have the motivation, the discipline, but you don't feel like it? Because, I mean, it's not easy when you don't feel like it. So how do you stay energetic and stay motivated on the days where you don't feel like talking to 35 people?
That's a good question. I don't know where that comes from. But it's part of our job. I think that's the mindset too. Like, this business won't work if you're going to run it like you're taught there at your office, or how Mike Ferry trains agents. It will not work if you do it 2 or 3 times a week. It will not work if you're have a great month where you're doing it and then you take off another 2 weeks. Like, you have to just show up. And I think on those days where I don't feel good and my mind's messed up, I used to carry around a 3x5 card. And anytime I had a win, I would write it down. I don't care how small it was. I started on time. Boom. Any small win in my life, I would write it down, because we get what we focus on. We could sit there and say, like, I don't feel good. I hate this job. I hate doing this. I don't want to talk to these guys. You keep saying that, and that becomes your attitude. So look for wins, no matter how small. Like, I didn't set an appointment at all yesterday, and I was in the office kind of feeling down, and I got back on the phone, and my win for the day was I added someone to my database.
I'm so encouraged, Michael. Thank you. You're awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Good stuff. Thanks, Kamal. Other questions for Michael Kent? Raise your hand or just shout it out. Come on, you guys, stop eating and ask questions.
One thing that you asked me. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Michael. So, question: as a parent, I'm a parent / husband / grandpa. I don't have the 5 days in a row. How do you get back from missing a day to on the consistency level? How do you get back on that?
That's a great question, because if you can't do it back to back, the consistency, I think what I've really tried, I've gotten better at this. I don't have this perfected, but I just try to be as present as I am wherever I am. How often are we on vacation and we're thinking about work? And then when we're at work, we're thinking about vacation. So I think probably in your situation, time management, and then just being all in with what you're doing at that time.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, good question, Martin. Thank you, Michael.
Good question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Michael, you said 35 contacts. Are these cold calls? Are these phone calls? Door knocking? What do you, how does it, what is that 35 comprised of?
Great question. It's mainly going to just where most of my business comes from. It's going to be the canceled and expireds. I talk to 10 people a day from my database at a minimum. And then for sale by owners. And then I don't do a lot of just listed, just sold. It's probably something I should do, but.
Yeah. Do you, did you ever do any
go
door
ahead.
knocking?
I did early in my career and I probably should keep doing that, but the door knocking was awesome. I remember that question on the script, when do you plan on moving? Having someone go, how did you know we were thinking about moving? So yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's great.
When
Good
you're-
question, Kevin. Thank you. Go ahead, Shane.
Hey, Neil.
When you're out door knocking, how do you typically introduce yourself, and what are some good examples that you, some things that you say right off the bat?
I think you just use the script. And
Oh,
smile.
God. Come on, Michael. There's got to be something different.
Smile, have energy. One thing that I think has been big, this kind of goes along with door knocking. This is huge for me. And you asked me, Neil, when I was filling out a questionnaire, what's my favorite objection handler? And I don't know if I really have a favorite objection handler. I think one thing that we miss in Mike's training, when somebody says something to us, I guess to back up a little bit, the biggest thing is like when we're selling and we're talking to people, it just goes back to those people that are really going to work with us are the ones that feel like we're hearing them. So Mike just teaches us to mirror and match, obviously, but also to repeat and affirm. And if you watch yourself and on your role plays, that I notice this with almost every agent, I listen to this. If you'll notice, they always affirm, then repeat. So for example, you knock on a door, when do you plan on moving? I'm not moving. Of course you're not moving. You affirmed first. But if somebody says, I'm not moving, and you say, I'm not moving, of course. For some reason, the affirming first and then the repeating makes them feel heard. So a lot of times on objection handlers, like when somebody says, you're the 6th call I had today. 6 calls? That sounds horrible. I don't even handle that objection. 6 calls, that sounds horrible. If you sold the home, where would you move next? So it's just, I think repeating and affirming with energy and mirroring and matching them, we don't even have to deal with these things that are stuck in our head. Make them feel heard with empathy.
Hey, Neil.
Go ahead, Michael. Good answer, Mike. Thank you.
I'm just saying, in regards to said what he has, he's very consistent and prospecting. What is having 5 kids has to do with it?
Why does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, that will give you the extra motivation. Every day you have no choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very big part of what
Hi,
we
Neil.
did.
Can I ask you?
comes
Can
from
I
the
ask a
kids.
question? This
Of course,
is Gloria.
Gloria, go ahead.
Michael, of that 35 contacts that you have every day,
Yeah.
how many calls that you do to get the 35
I
contacts?
don't really track my dials. That's a good question. I don't know. I know it takes me about 3 to 3.5 hours.
I see. Okay, and the next question is, what motivates you every day to do what you do?
That's great. Yeah, and I don't recommend this if you want to do more business, go out and have kids. That's not a good idea.
However,
Yeah.
children are a big, what are their ages, Michael?
My oldest is 21 and my youngest is 12. But one
Oh,
thing
wow.
I just ask, like, what's your why? And, people ask you what motivates. I do have a daughter who's 14, who's pretty severely autistic. And to the point where, like, I want to create a good life for me, but she's gonna be someone I'm gonna have to financially support well after I'm gone. And I don't want her to be a financial burden to the other kids.
I see.
That's a big
Thank
motivation.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michael.
That's a blessing, Michael.
Question.
That's a blessing. Miguel, go ahead.
Yes, Michael. For someone to be in your database, for you to allow them to be in your database, what standards do you have for that person?
That's a great question. Obviously, past client. I could do better with my center of influence. I need more friends. But the other thing is if someone's going to do something, probably with 18 months to 2 years.
They go in your database.
Yeah. Or someone, if you feel like they're going to if they have a lot of connections, like think about CPAs, attorneys, financial planners. Those are the kind of people you want to network with.
Got it. Michael, how many people in your database?
650.
And the 58 listings that you took last year, what percentage of those did you say were past client sphere? 30%?
30%, yeah. So I'm not even close to sniffing the 10% thing. I could definitely do that.
No.
I think what happened was I'm getting better at this, but earlier in my career, it was so heavy, canceled and expired. I've been working on over the last 3 to 4 years, starting once somebody gets a listing signed, starting to ask for a referral. And then I talk to my staff, just really trying to blow these people away with good service. We do this every day. Some of them do it 2 or 3 times their entire life. So had I done a better job earlier in my career of asking for referrals and just giving over the top service, I would be making your kind of money, Neil.
Oh, you're very kind. Thank you. You know what they say, when you get to where I am, you'll be where I was.
Can I
Yeah,
ask
I'm
what?
not catching you anytime soon.
Yeah.
Can I ask one more question?
Shane, of course.
Michael, one other question about door knocking, because that's something that I'm still working on, and that's something I actually like to do. Would you recommend the approach of like coming to people with, hey, by the way, do you know what interest rates are coming down, or inventory is low? Where I live, inventory is very, very low. Do you try to find a topic or something that would pertain to them more directly, just to kind of initiate that conversation?
Yeah, I think that's good. Bring, we talk about that with our database, bring something of value, but yeah, that's great. Obviously the best door knock, probably, maybe not the best, but people want to know what's going on in their neighborhood. So if you're contacting your listings or somewhere in your office, our office, or even, I've even heard of some agents just going with in a neighborhood they like, they just found out another agent sold a home. Hey, did you know your neighbor's home sold? I'm just letting the neighbors know.
Right.
I
Thank
agree.
you.
Bring something of value. That's great.
Hey,
Good
Michael.
stuff. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yes, I got a question. And, like in many areas, the inventory is very low. Properties are selling with sometimes multiple offers. Now, you said in your area, there are some expires and cancels and whatever. Why do you think that's happened over there? Is that a specific reason? It's just the inventory is regular or overpricing? Why is happening right now?
Yeah. Well, Arizona's always, I think it's kind of a transient state. And then the county I'm in, there's about 4 million people. And so there's a lot of people that you don't meet a lot of like natives. I don't know if that answers your question, but we've always had quite a bit of canceled or expireds. And then, in our MLS, we have like probably similar to where you're at. It's population of 4 million, but there's 60,000 agents.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
my
hear
thing is not so much like I can get the leads, but the problem is like some of these people might be interviewing 3 to 4 agents.
Or 8 or 10.
The 3 to 4 that they're interviewing are good.
Yeah. Which goes back to your point, Michael, that we have to work on our skills.
Yes, right.
Be working on our skills all the time. Gabby, you had something you wanted to ask?
Hi. Well, talking about that, Michael, what do you think that set you apart from the other 59,000 agents?
Probably same thing, work ethic, consistency, and then the skill set. Probably like any market, you've got 5% of the agents selling 95% of the homes. It's easy to, our interesting industry we have, it's easy to get your license, but no one gets any training. So that's why you guys are lucky to be with such an office where they're actually teaching you how to sell. Nobody else gets that kind of training.
Thank you, Michael. Good question, Gabby. Michael, I want to go back to customer service for a minute.
Yeah.
So what's your definition? What does excellent or superior or fantastic customer service look like for your definition?
Warm and fuzzies.
So warm and fuzzies. Give me an example.
Well, tell my assistant, like once I take a listing, I let them know I have an assistant that'll be reaching out. She calls them. You know, we're in an age, I've had some assistants, it's so much easier to text or email. You can't create a warm and fuzzy through a text or an email.
Okay.
Every time
Good.
there's something good, I'll say, hey, could you use some good news? Appraisal came in. Who else
Okay.
who could benefit from our level of service? You know, when anything positive happens, I'm going to ask for a referral.
Got it. Okay. Good stuff. So you're just touching people.
And I think sometimes too, just going the extra mile, like, you know, just anything that's out of the ordinary. Try to see it from their perspective. It's a stressful time.
Can you give me an example of going an extra mile?
Well, I should have one ready, but
well, I'm just digging for stuff because sometimes the agents don't realize that, you know, what that extra mile looks like.
This has helped me on some cancels and expireds. I've taken, like, you get an out-of-state prospect and they're like, oh, we're going to do that. We're thinking about it and just go. A lot of times the agent still has a lockbox on it. And I'm like, can I go look at the house?
Right.
I could think of a listing that just closed last month. It was an $800,000 home. And he was thinking about interviewing me and another agent. I said, can I go look at the house? And while I was there, I took a video and it was getting remodeled. And he's like, I haven't seen it for 2 months. Thanks for doing that.
Right. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Yeah, we get a lot of mileage from that. Other questions for Michael Kent, please?
Michael.
Yes.
Michael, what's your definition of a lead?
One thing I do lead follow-up, but the one thing that's helped me is my mindset is prospect for appointments, not leads. So obviously, if someone's going to do something within 7 days, classic Mike Ferry, 7 to 10 days, I would probably consider them a lead. But I want to make sure when I'm prospecting, I'm trying to set an appointment a day. And I've really been focused lately, not so much on the scripts, but more on my closes. I've been trying to close harder. So that phrase helped me. Like, I don't want to stack a bunch of leads. Prospect for appointments, not leads.
So what you're saying is, when you're talking to somebody, don't give up at the name and the phone number. Go for an appointment 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Yep. Yeah.
Do you ever play a game about, or do you know how many times you have to ask to get an appointment? Do you know what that average is for you?
I mean, it's probably 3, maybe 3 or 4, but I think they say most sales happen 5 or 6. Like I'm
getting 6, yeah.
But I've really been focused the last 6 months on closing harder and closing earlier.
Harder and earlier.
Yep.
So then we have to go back to skills because you need to know what to say and how to say it, right?
I had a really good mentor of mine explain to me, is like, they're going to say no at first. So why not get that early no out first? Just like you go into the department store, you need to buy a shirt and they say, can we help you? What are you looking for today? Like, no, I'm just looking around. So get those no's out early.
No just means not now.
Right.
Good stuff. All right. Any other questions for Michael Kent? Okay, so unmute yourselves, first of all. Unmute yourselves. Let's get in there. Unmute yourselves. Let's give Michael a really big round of applause. All right.
Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you, Michael.
Great job. Very, very good work. Very good stuff. Down to earth. This is the deal. This is it. This is what you need to do. So, Michael, what we do now is we'll go around the room, ask, what did we learn from you? If you have a hard stop, we certainly understand that and you need to move on. Or you can kind of hang with us and listen to what people have learned from you today.
Yeah, I'll stick around. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Very, very good. Okay. What did we learn from Michael today? What did we learn? Who wants to go first?
I do.
Go ahead, Shane. 90
to 95% is mindset, confidence, practicing the scripts, and dialogue every day. I thought that was fantastic.
That's it. We probably don't need any more, but we're going to go for it. That's great. Bianca, did you have something?
Yeah, I just second that. That was absolutely just very helpful in knowing 95% mindset. It's kind of mind blowing, honestly. It's just when you put that perspective on it.
That's
So
great.
thank you.
Thank you.
Affirm
Thank
and
you. And
repeat.
thank you, Michael.
Affirm and repeat.
Jaime, go ahead.
Affirm and repeat. Repeat and affirm.
Repeat and affirm. Absolutely. Very, very good point. Good reminder for all of us. All right. What else did we learn? Go ahead, Gabby.
Prospect for an appointment, not for a lead.
All right. Great thought. Another great thought. Good stuff. Okay. What else do we got? Yeah. Share, share, share. Come on.
Show empathy. Show empathy to the customer and be
That's it.
consistent.
Warm and fuzzies, I think is the way Michael said. Warm and fuzzies. I like that. Okay, who else has got something that they want to share that they learned?
I have something.
Go ahead, Miguel. Excuse me, Manuel.
It's the other Mexican. What he was saying about consistency, he may prospect for 4 days in a row and not get anything. And on the 5th day, speak to 5 people and set 4 appointments. I thought that was really powerful.
Very powerful. And that's happened to you, Mike, Emmanuel, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Absolutely. Good job. Okay. Very, very good. Anyone else want to share what they learned? Now, you guys learned everything?
Well, he was planting the seeds in September, so is showing all the appointments now. So I think that is taking a little bit longer than I was used to, you know.
Well,
it is
but the market's changing. Gabby,
yeah.
I got to tell you, we talk about this all the time. And the point is that we talk about running through the finish line. And we start that in September, October. And a lot of agents are having the biggest first quarter that they've ever had. I mean, we're hearing, John Sullivan in Vegas. I don't know if you saw that, Michael Kent, but in 30 days, he closed almost $300,000, 11 deals, $300,000 in commission income. We have our top team here at Century 21 Masters, where they closed $290,000 in the first month, or I guess it was 45 days. Yvette Jeter, I don't know if Yvette's on here. Yvette in the first 6 weeks of the year closed $184,000. This can be done, but as Michael Kent said, it didn't start January 1st. It started back in October. You guys get that?
Yeah.
That's the point.
Mm-hmm. It's also,
all right.
if I could
go ahead, Michael. Go ahead.
Just a testament to know that you're grinding today, but don't get discouraged, don't get down. It's going to happen.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So, I'm sorry, can I ask something? Coming back to what you just said, Michael. So let's say that you are planting seeds now, but you don't see the immediate gratification of that listing right now. How is your mindset regarding that? It's like, okay, it's going to be tomorrow, keep going for an appointment for a 2 days deal. How do you handle it in your mindset?
I think it's just to look for those little wins. What do you define as a win? If your win's just set on taking a listing that day, you're gonna have a lot of days where you're down. But if you can say, I hit my contact goal today, or I added someone to my database, or I put another deal under contract, like start searching for the good stuff, not the bad. There's plenty of bad, and it's always easier to find.
Oh, great. Thank you, Michael.
Neil.
Great answer. Good question, Gabby. Michael.
Yeah, what I'm just saying, Neil,
Michael
what I'm just saying, one thing that he said in this market, working 3 days or being a part-time agent is not going to get you anywhere.
Nowhere. And I think I hadn't heard it quite that way, Michael Kent. Thank you. I think a lot of us are that way. We work 2 or 3 really decent days, but we don't work 5 or 6 consistent days. And we think we're doing our job in the 2 or 3 or days, but it takes 5 or 6. But you don't have to work 24 hours a day. You just have to work, right, Michael?
Yeah, and I think what do you define as work? Like for me, it's an income producing activity. I'm not searching the MLS just in front of my computer. I'm at the office considering that work. You're taking time away from your family. Like put in the time.
Working.
Yep.
Exactly. Patty Malone, you got a question or a statement?
I do have a question. Thank you. Michael, I was curious, you said you work a lot of cancels. When you call them, what type of script or what do you say to the cancel?
Just the same Mike Ferry canceled or expired script.
So you just use the expired script basically?
Yeah, just I a lot of times I won't say canceled or expired. I just say notice your home had come off the market. When do you plan on interviewing a paid agent? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool.
All right. Great question, Patty. Thank you. Michael Kent. All right, let's give him a big hand. Unmute yourselves again. Unmute yourselves. Great job. All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you. Another great job. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
We have we put Michael's information in the chat box. I'm going to post it one more time. It looks like Ashley.
It does say Gilbert, but like anything in the Phoenix area I cover. So
right.
Great.
So don't forget, it's not just Gilbert, but all of the Phoenix metro area.
Yep.
Bianca, you had something else you wanted to ask or share? No, we're good. All right, my friend Michael, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right, good job, everyone. Okay, so let's go.